there was a philosophical argument where there's a train coming and it's going to hit 10 people. All right. Now you can flick a switch and that train will divert and hit one person. Would you flick that switch? I'm asking you. Would you flick that switch?
Welcome to PolyPsych.org.
Almost there. Just one more time.
Welcome to PolyPsych.org.
No.
You got to pull the switch.
No, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't. So you let 10 people die.
By not doing anything?
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay. So
I don't want to be I would be directly responsible for killing one person.
Yes.
Whereas I'm just riding a train.
No, you're not riding a train. You're standing on the side and there's this giant lever. You see the train coming. Like there's 10 people on the tracks. Like
I'm gonna run away.
You don't run away? That's odd. No, you gotta pick one. Like, do you let the 10 people die?
So I consciously do or don't flick the switch.
You can either flick the switch and save 10 people.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna kill the one person.
Okay, so you are gonna pull the lever. Okay, so you pull the lever, you kill one person. Okay. Now, same question, but rather than pulling a lever and letting the train hit a person, your other option is to push a person in front of the train.
So now I have 3 options?
No, there's a train coming.
Okay.
And it's going to hit 10 people.
Uh-huh.
All right. Now you can save the 10 people, but to do it, you have to push a person in front of the train.
What's the difference? Yeah. Well, yeah, I'll push the person in front of the train. Mm-hmm. Save 10 people.
Yes.
Yeah.
You'd push them?
Yeah.
You just like shove them right in front of the train?
Yeah. Save 10 people, kill one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's unusual.
Is that wrong?
No, it's just unusual.
Am I a psychopath?
I don't know. I'm hoping not.
Are you concerned?
A little bit. So Radio did this thing, and most people say, yes, I'd pull the switch and save 10 people and kill the one person. But then when they asked, would you push a person in front of a train? Would you throw them in front of the train? They said, no, I wouldn't do that. And the reason being is because they kind of observe the processes in their brain. It turns out that you have you have a moral override, or like doing something like that physically with your hands, taking someone and pushing them in front of a train. Huh. It gets overridden, and I can't push a person in front of the train. I can't pull a switch.
I'm gonna have to. I'm like, I'll say a prayer.
You know who was? Oh, it's funny you say that, because you know who they said was more in touch, more likely to say, yes, I'd pull the lever and kill the one person, and I'd push a person in front of the train. You know who would say that? Religious people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think they said Buddhist monks. I think.
Yeah, I was just thinking that my way of thinking is very collectivist. Like I think a lot of people from like Asia, like India, I can't think of anyone else off the top of my head, but like the Japanese culture and Chinese culture would very much, I think they would agree with me in thinking that like the lives of the masses is more valuable than the life of the one. And in fact, like if someone were to, we could go one step further and be like, okay, so would you throw yourself in front of the train in order to save the 10 people? Like, some people would say yes. Depending, I wouldn't. I can't go that far. 10 strangers or myself. Nothing.
So in regards to psychopaths, they are able to take the moral equation completely out of it. So they would obviously be some that would say, "Oh, yeah, pull the lever."
It's the more logical argument.
Yeah,
like artificial intelligence.
100%. They're almost like, yeah. So if you imagine psychopath is more like a machine than like a person when it comes to moral decision making. And it's not to say that I'd imagine that it's a spectrum and it changes. So there is
a spectrum.
There's a spectrum of psychopathy.
Yes.
Okay, good.
There's a whole spectrum of like psychosis. You've got the people who are like far on one end of the spectrum who are out of touch with reality altogether. So like schizophrenics, people with like dissociative disorders and things like that. Way on the other end of the spectrum. And then you've got the ones who are fully like aware of reality and in touch with like social norms and their own personal moral values and things like that. They just have like a little switch that flips and makes things a little fuzzy sometimes. And so I think closer to that end of the spectrum would be like depressed people or people with anxiety. And then like somewhere in the middle and somewhere along the spectrum, there's borderline personality disorder, there's bipolar disorder, there's antisocial personality disorder, or a sociopath. And then you've got, I don't know, somewhere on there is the mass shooter guys.
So yeah, they're talking about that mass shooter as if he is a psychopath, which made me think of there's the research by Dr. Stevens and Armin Caius. The research is titled "Successful Psychopaths: Are They Unethical Decision Makers and Why?" And in the study, they examine psychopaths and unethical decision making, and they explain it through a system called moral disengagement. So it's what facilitates unethical choices in the psychopath's brain, where like this isn't the ethical thing to do, but it is the most logical thing to do. Obviously, a mass shooter isn't doing anything logical whatsoever. So I don't know if that person could get lumped in with a psychopath so much as like, this has got to be a completely different thing.
Yeah, that's what I would go with. Okay, so here's where I get really, really frustrated is that the first thing that was said was, no, it's not terrorism. So it must have been that he's mentally ill. And that bothers me because it's certainly not a this or that situation. Like, this person didn't have to be mentally ill to have made the choice. He might have made a fully aware and, in his mind, rational decision. It doesn't have to be right to be rational.
But that is mentally ill. Like,
it's not necessarily mentally ill. Maybe he had a reason. Maybe he had one target. And in order to cover up his motive, he shot up a bunch of people.
Doesn't that count as mentally ill? Like, it may not fall into a category.
No, it falls under, it was just forensic countermeasures.
Oh.
You see what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't, and what bothered, and maybe more likely it is that he was mentally ill, but you can't just say that he was without having done any looking into what he was doing. And they said they were going to, but they hadn't yet, and they just made an off-the-cuff decision that he was mentally ill.
But doesn't, by definition, a person who makes this irrational of a decision that I'm going to shoot 80 people, that by definition means you must be mentally ill.
No,
you may not.
It means you might just be evil. You don't have to be mentally ill to be evil.
Aren't evil people now, like, by definition, mentally ill? Like, that's ill.
I wouldn't think so.
Mentally healthy is that you're making rational, ethical decisions.
Maybe you just don't agree with the laws of the land. Maybe you just don't agree with, like, the social norms and the rules. Like, and you just want to go against it for one time in your whole life, and that's going to be your swan song.
And if you do something it
doesn't make you ill. It could just make you, malicious.
Huh. So, psychopaths, they a lot of times they'll infiltrate a corporate environment, and they are able to work their way up the corporate environment into a decision-making position.
Yeah.
And
way high up.
They're considered like poison. As a matter of fact, there's a book where it was like, I can't remember the name of the book. God dang it. It's called like Corporate Poison.
Ooh.
The Psychopath. It's something. The psychopaths are like corporate poison or whatever. But you've got this company, and for some reason, everybody's relationships just disintegrate. Like, everybody's miserable, but they can't figure out why. Or maybe everybody knows, but dang it, everybody's getting manipulated by this one person. And this person is like, they're sharp, they're witty, they're charismatic, and they just keep moving. What is it about this guy that like just poison for the corporation itself? Yeah.
Scary.
I know. I'll scare you even more. So by the FBI put out a bulletin in 2012, and with some statistics. I don't like that one statistics about psychopaths. And it turns out 1% of males, 1 in 100 males, is a psychopath.
I knew it.
That's way too many.
Yeah.
That's a lot of dudes. Psychopaths are released on parole 2.5 times earlier than regular offenders. Mm-hmm. Which makes sense because it's like, I don't want to be in here. So if I have to be not really nice, I'm just going to get out of here.
It's like, all the world is like a checkers game. It's not it's not even so much chess. Sometimes it might be chess, and they're capable of playing that game too. But most of the time, psychopaths are dealing with checkers. And it's just, I only need to think 2 steps ahead.
Like Cersei from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, most of the time she just needs to think, 2 steps ahead and to be diabolically successful. But occasionally in like those environments where you got like the suit and tie and white collar corporation where this guy is clearly a psychopath, that's where you got the chess player with the super high IQ. And he's like, I want to be rich. So
I'm going into investment banking.
yeah, I think I'll be a rich investment banker this week. And I don't really want to work for it though. So
I'll do whatever I need to do.
Whatever it takes. There's no moral like obstacles at all to get there.
Huh. So they're as far as their predisposition to crime, to criminal activity, 15 to 20% of the prison population is psychopathic.
Ooh.
They're less than 1% of the population, or around 1% of the population. 15 to 20% of them are in prison. 15 to 20% of the prison population is psychopaths.
That's impressive, but it also speaks towards like the fact that at the end of the day, like healthy people need not be petrified of the psychopath next door, because they're not always as clever or sly as they think they are, and they can be caught if you're aware of what to look for. And nowadays, what I really am like excited about is how psychology is really like pushing its way into the like criminal justice and investigations, and just catching these people by getting into their heads and figuring out the little details that weren't noticeable 20, 30 years ago.